Hello, welcome back to the James Ramblin' Reviews for yet another episode, and in today's episode I have a very interesting review for you, because unlike the kind of mediocre media that I've kind of been covering on this show, whether that was Longlegs, whether that was the whole thing with how House of the Dragon has kind of been falling off recently, to when we had the Shrek 4 stuff and stuff like that, I really have a lot of interesting things to say about this series. But before I get into my thoughts on this show, I have to say that the fact that I did do a community tab post on this series, so you can go to my channel, and I did actually talk about how I'm going to be doing a review of Gen V as if I did a review of The Boys Season 4, and then I added context about Season 1, Season 2, Season 3, Gen V. I would take 12 years to explain everything, because there's so much to unpack about this show. There's so much that goes on in this series, so if I did that, it would just be tedious and long, and it'd be like 25 minutes long or something like that, so there's that. So Gen V, I'll give you a bit of context here. If you're wondering about my thoughts on superhero kind of stuff, well, I'll just quickly wrap this up and get straight to the point on this one, that when it comes to superhero media as a whole, I definitely really did enjoy the older era of Marvel, where, you know, they were really having this particular vision and they knew what they were doing. And so then after Avengers Endgame, the franchise started falling off, where you get these movies where it's about all these random characters and it's not the same people anymore, and Robert Downey Jr. is not here anymore, and it just got really boring. And then when we bring back Spider-Man for a bit of nostalgia bait that pays off, everyone loves it, and you got Guardians of the Galaxy 3, which the pacing doesn't really hold up, but the storyline and the whole movie was actually not that bad, so there was that about it. And then obviously there was also stuff about like James Gunn's The Suicide Squad that I really did enjoy as well, and also Peacemaker wasn't bad. But for the longest time after Avengers Endgame, we haven't had the most biggest track record where it was just constantly good, and your stuff like the Batman, which was alright, and it was just a bit long. So there's definitely that, where I'm building up that context on how there's a lot of superhero content now that isn't hitting the same as it used to. And so when it comes to Gen V, I would say that I heard about this series online. People are saying, oh, it's so good, it's just as good as The Boys. It's probably on par with the quality of The Boys Season 1 and stuff like that. So I was curious, because I had watched about 3 seasons of The Boys, took about a month to watch all of that, and I was like, you know what, I'm just going to turn this on and find out for myself. So Gen V is pretty much about how you have these different characters that have all these different motivations, and they go to like this university, and you get to learn about their powers and what they are going through day to day, like the struggles of a teenager. Oh, this boy really likes me. Oh, this guy really likes me, kind of thing. There's things like that in it. And then there's also like actual individual character arcs, where you get these episodes about different characters and how the whole storyline intertwines with that, and that's really what this show is about. It has 8 episodes. There is a few episodes where it's like 30-40 minutes long, so it's highly watchable, and you could probably binge through it. But for me personally, I did not binge this series. Like, the most I probably, quote-unquote, binged was 2 episodes, and it took me a few days, so I'd watch a couple episodes a night, pretty much, if you know what I mean, and stuff like that. So there's definitely that. So how do I feel about Gen V? So Gen V, I will say this, that if you're looking for an interesting, refreshing take that's familiar, a familiar IP or a familiar idea to The Boys, well, you're in for the luck here, because I absolutely had a blast watching this series, the way it conducts itself, and how, you know, sometimes when you have gory violence and sex, it just seems like they're playing this up for the sake of it. It's like, oh, you really want to get edgy, or you really want to seem violent because you think you're so cool, huh? Well, the show doesn't really do that. It has a lot of reasons as to why it's doing it. And another thing about The Boys universe was the whole thing about political commentary. Well, there is a bit of that in here and stuff like that, but I'm not going to go too deep into that, because this is not a political channel. This is about reviewing a movie or a TV show or whatever. So definitely would say this is very good stuff here. Now, the biggest flaw I would say about the show is that the acting is pretty bland to this pivotal point where it's just kind of serviceable, and the actors are just doing their best job as they could. But I wouldn't say they are some the peak of acting where it's like, we need these actors to win an Emmy or an Oscar right now, kind of thing. It's nothing like that. And so that's what I would say about Gen V. I would give it like a solid 8 out of 10. It's definitely very watchable, and as I said, a lot of the characters and stuff like that, it gets all fleshed out, it all makes sense towards the end, and there is a couple references to The Boys and a couple cameos to The Boys TV show, but I'm not going to spoil that in this review in case you're wondering and you're wanting to see Gen V before Season 4, stuff like that. So that is my review on Gen V. This will be a shorter review and compared to other reviews, because there's not a lot to say here compared to other stuff I've been talking about. So yeah, stay tuned for more like it. Stay tuned for when I'm going to be talking about The Boys Season 4, and that's my review of Gen V, baby. See you next time for more reviews on the James Allen Reviews. Bye.